Good evening, everyone. It is wonderful to see you. Good evening. Ooh. That sound I missed for a couple of years, and it's wonderful to see all of you on Zoom. And it looks like Cindy Pierce is joining us from Minneapolis. Welcome, welcome. And Lydia and Yvonne and Joan and Jerry, welcome. Welcome. Welcome to this tradition of gathering on Christmas Eve to sing and to listen. We gather as people have gathered for centuries to wait together for the birth of a child. Do you remember waiting for the birth of a child? I remember waiting for my little brother to be born. It seemed to be happening so slowly. We begin with the words that are being said in many other places, from Goa to Macau, to tiny churches in those blizzards in Iowa. Oh my gosh. I wonder if they have Zoom. I bet they're wishing for Zoom. These words are from Luke chapter 2. Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who was with child. A couple is on a journey to Bethlehem. A woman is heavy with child. There is a star in the east. Tonight, together in this place, let us open our eyes to the holiness that surrounds human life, that we see in the faces of children and all those we love, and sometimes miraculously in a stranger. Let us sing together and remember, and if possible, be filled with joy. That is my hope for all of us. Let us rise in body or spirit, and we will sing together, "O come all ye faithful." If you don't have a hymnal, there are some in the back. Does everyone have a hymnal? And the number is 253. Sing choirs of angels, Isn't it fun to sing all of these songs in person this time? We light our chalice tonight, with a global chalice lighting written by a Unitarian Universalist in Northeast India. This will be read by Diane Harper.
We kindle this chalice flame, symbol of our gathered community, across faiths, across cultures, beyond borders. May it lead us from the shadows into the light, from ignorance to wisdom, from untruth to truth, from exclusiveness to inclusiveness, from mortality to immortality. May our light join the thousands being lit all over the world tonight. Let us rise in body and spirit and sing the first Noel.
When Mary and Joseph were moving through the countryside, she heavy with child, he heavy with the responsibility of protecting her and finding security and safety. During these vulnerable times, we are also, in many ways, we are closest to the acts of kindness. This community is abundant with acts of kindness. This is why I love this time of year. For many, the carols, the memories that surface, inspire people to be kind to one another. This week, a visit to a hardware store just down the street felt like a blessing. by greetings of kindness and smiles. And in the darkness, I love to open the doors to our building and be greeted by that sweet smelling tree. And then I love to plug in those sparkling lights. 3 years ago, we began a tradition of sharing stories of kindness on this evening about times when people, often strangers, have been angels in our lives. I've also asked you to be courageous and tell stories about when you've been an angel, even when you've been a tough angel. Let us rise in body or spirit and call in the angels. Let us sing, hark the herald angels sing.
It promised to be an awful Christmas. Right after a divorce, my son was with my ex-husband and I was feeling really low. That year, my mother decided to give my father a bicycle and wanted to keep it secret. So I kept it at my house. And on Christmas morning, I put it in my car with a big red ribbon and drove to my parents' home. When the drivers on the freeway saw the bicycle sticking out of the back window of my small car and the festive ribbon trailing behind it, they cheered me on all the way to my parents' home. It was just what I needed. They lifted my spirits. Let us sing Deck the Halls.
235. Please rise. 4. Please rise in body or spirit. Look in your hymn, open your gray hymnal. 235. Okay.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. You'll be for us, la 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 la.
Aaron Jackson, the founder of the nonprofit Planting Peace, traveled from his Florida home to Poland shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine. He estimates that he has helped find housing for some 300 refugees, including many dog owners who struggle to stay with their pets. If you were walking through the camps, there were just so many refugees that had brought their dogs over with them. And that only makes sense. They are an extension of the family after all. Jackson learned that dogs coming from Ukraine had not been allowed to mix with the local dogs in Polish shelters due to concerns about disease. So he recently found an animal shelter sitting empty in the city of Poznan and received permission to take it over. An overwhelmed rescue organization in the Ukraine was the first to send dogs to Jackson's shelter. A van carrying 17 dogs and 2 refugees, Valerie Liskretenko and her mother, Liliana. And when they came to us, all I knew was that they had no money and nowhere to go. Jackson said, and I could see right away that they were good with dogs. I couldn't help but notice that all the dogs really loved them. He later learned that the 2 women spent 40 days in a Ukrainian bomb shelter caring for these dogs. The dogs helped them get through the worst 40 days of their lives, and they helped those dogs get through the worst 40 days of their lives. And that's what Jackson said, and that's what I believe. Let's sing "O Little Town of Bethlehem."
And now I have a story from Tom Burrows about being a tough angel. This is a story about how speaking our mind and asking someone to treat others with respect can be the act of an angel. When we speak up, we are bringing hope to the people who are not there, or perhaps are there listening. This is the angel work of bringing hope. He wrote, back around 2008, I had got back from an off-road motorcycling after being away some 20 years. Made several friends here in Prescott to ride with. We communicated through email. I got an email from the group one morning with a very degrading cartoon of the current president. I replied to all saying, this old white retired Teamster truck driver is as far to the left as you guys are to the right. Please don't send me any more of this crap. We had one other very liberal fellow in our group, and he sent me an email commending me on being so brave. I told him they deserved my honesty. End of discussion. I rode with them for years, and never did I hear a political word again. Two of them have now passed, and we had a great many rides and many fun lunches and many visits in their homes. And now the choir will sing, There's a Star in the East. Thank you, Tom.
There's a star in the east on Christmas morn. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. It will lead to the place where a babe is born. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Leave your ewes and leave your lambs. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Leave your sheep and leave your lambs. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Follow. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Follow the star of Bethlehem. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. If you hark to the angels' holy word, rise up, shepherd, and follow. Don't forget your flock, don't forget your herd. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Leave your ewes and leave your lambs. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Leave your sheep and leave your lambs. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Follow, follow. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Follow the star of Bethlehem. Rise up, shepherd, and follow.
Sometimes us alone, but often they arrive in a chorus or a band of angels. This year, when I was approached about families in need of holiday cheer, the work of angels had already begun. a pastor in Prescott Valley had taken in 2 families recently arrived in this country from Nicaragua. And somehow his wife had been in contact with someone who knew about our congregation. A friend then reached out to me, and I contacted Lena, and then we put out the word. And many of you out there sprouted wings, immediately saying, I will help, I will provide gifts. Other names then began to come to us. Individuals and groups of people stepped up to buy gifts. A Granite Peak congregant helped with delivery and made sure that a bicycle was just right for another family recently arrived from Colombia. Another turned her garage into a way station for gifts. My friend stayed in contact with the families in Spanish, finding out and defining their needs. A teacher in our community who teaches in the Humboldt School District knew how to get the Nicaraguan children registered, and the members of Granite Peak opened up their camper as a possible home for them in the coming months. It took all of us to deliver a message. There is a place for you here. This, I believe, is the work of angels. And stay tuned, for this work of angels has just begun. Tonight, our offering goes to the Ministers' Benevolence Fund, which provides funds to those in need among us and around us. This fund, through the 3.5 years I have been here, has helped people stay in their homes and avoid eviction. It's helped people get a car up and going, provide food for the hungry, and many, many other things. This fund facilitates the work of angels. Please be generous. And now let us listen to Chris Parsons and Mary Lou Prince play Sing We Now of Christmas. Thank you for your gifts. What is given in love is received in gratitude. And now we will hear from Bobby Bollinger.
23 years ago, I was going through one of the very toughest periods of my entire life. My 32-year marriage was breaking up, and I had decided to leave a situation that was untenable for me. I was really in the emotional pit at that time. And as I was getting ready to leave my home out into a world that I had no idea what to expect, my cousin John called me. We don't talk often on the phone, but he is 2 years older than I am. And he had been through a divorce a few years before I was going through mine. And he had done this a few years before I went through mine. So he said to me on the phone, "So Bobby, how are you doing?" And I just burst into tears and was blubbering and told him I was really scared. I didn't know how I was going to make it. I was sad. I was angry. I really didn't know what to do with my life. And he said, "Do you remember when we were little kids that Dumbo the Flying Elephant was our favorite book?" And I said, "Oh, I loved Dumbo so much. He had the great big ears and he always wanted to fly, but he never could get that great big body off the ground." And he said, "Well, if you'll remember, Dumbo sat on the curb one day with a tear going down his cheek and a feather floated by. And he reached up with his trunk and he grabbed the feather and the feather lifted him up and he was flying. Dumbo was filled with joy and the feather put him down and then it floated by again and he reached up with his trunk and he grabbed the feather and he was flying." And John said, "Bobby, all I can tell you is reach for the feathers in your life. You will find that your life is a blank slate now and it's up to you to make of it what you wish. So fill it with only good things. If there's a book you want to read, go to the library and get that book. Maybe there are places you've wanted to travel. Do good work and do work that you enjoy. Do more at your spiritual community," because he knew I loved this congregation. He knew I loved being out in the forest. Go for more walks. Surround yourself with people who bring you joy. And pretty soon, thread by thread, you will weave a new tapestry for your life. John was my angel that day. Lots of people had given me advice, but this one really meant more than anything else. So that's exactly what I did. And essentially 23 years ago, John was the person who set me on the course of creating a really good life for myself. The interesting thing about all of that was that we had a family reunion about 6 or 7 years ago. And I started waxing eloquently to him about how much he had meant to me. He remembered none of it, which also reminds me that sometimes we don't realize when we are someone else's angel. Also, just very shortly before COVID, my nephew and his wife came to visit me from California, and I related this story to them for the first time. And they were so moved by it that they went home and commissioned an artist friend of theirs to paint a picture for me of Dumbo with a feather in his trunk. And on it, it says, "Why fly when you can soar?" I'll leave it up here for you to see.
The angels are calling. Let us rise and meet them in body or spirit and sing together number 231, "Angels We Have Heard on High."
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous angels praise above. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid. What relates our hearts in love? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
She was 8 years old when she was removed from her father's care. He was homeless, in and out of prison, had mental issues, was himself a victim of the system. They loved each other. She had probably been victimized by one of numerous stepbrothers. Her mother chose to permanently leave her life when she was in infancy. Every aspect of her life was disorganized, uncontrolled, chaotic. In my role as her CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate, we saw each other 3 to 4 times a month. We enjoyed experiencing as wide a variety of normal life as we could. My heart remembers a visit to a powwow at NAU. The activities and colors and sounds first stimulated her into a bit of frenzy, and as she tried to take everything in at once. At some point, she calmed, she climbed into my lap and wrapped my arms around her. For immeasurable time, we sat quietly with our hearts beating with the rhythm of the drums. It felt she was connecting, maybe for the first time, with the other, the ancients, the earth. Another time, we walked along Walnut Canyon. She first ran and yelled and skipped and hopped and was all over the place. But again, at some point of immeasurable beauty, she came beside me. We leaned together for some time in shared awe. I suspect for the first time, she truly saw her surroundings and connected with beauty. She was an angel for me. Our shared experience of the mystery of life, our shared connection with this transcendent.
And now we will hear from the choir.
Bring a torch and let Isabella bring a torch and quickly run. Christ is born, good folk of the village. Christ is born, and Mary's calling on. Oh, beautiful is the mother of all. Beautiful is her child. Come and see within the stable. Come and see the Holy One. Come and see the lovely Jesus. Crown his crown, his cheeks are rosy. Hush, hush, quietly now his slumbers. Hush, hush, quietly now he sleeps.
A Canadian traveler wrote, "In my most recent travels, I was trying to get back to Canada and the lockdowns in Europe. I was on a regional Ryanair flight. I was stressed about getting back to Canada. Having several flights canceled on me and another aeroplane flight not ticket on time upset and startled me and started me talking to the attendant about my situation and how I was worried about getting home. The flight attendant sat with me throughout most of the flight to help calm me down and work through my options for getting back. He even offered to let me stay with him and his family in Portugal for as long as I needed before I could get back to Canada. I was amazed by his kindness. And now we're saying it came upon midnight clear. It says here Carol, but I think it means quiet. Everybody, okay.
It's number 244. Please rise in body or spirit.
It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth to all goodwill, from heaven the news we bring. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world. Above its sad and lowly plains they bend on hovering wing, and ever o'er its babel sounds the blessed angels sing. But with the woes of war and strife, the world has suffered long. Beneath the angels' strain had rolled 2,000 years of wrong. And we who fight the wars hear not the love song which they bring. Oh, hush the noise of battle strife, and hear the angels sing. But lo, the days are hastening on, by prophets' words foretold, when with the ever-circling years come round the age of gold, when peace shall over all the earth its ancient splendors fling, and the whole world give back the song which now the angels sing.
And now I'm asking all of you, and you in your homes, if you have a candle, please look for it. And those of you who are here, you have candles under your chairs. And if you don't, you raise your hand and a candle will be brought to you. Does everyone have a candle? So before we get into this, I will explain how to do the candles. Although if you look at the carpet, it doesn't really matter much. If we drip a bit of wax, it might create some beauty. Anyway, but the way to do it, let me just, is to magic. So you go like this with your candle towards the person who has the light. Isn't it lovely? And there is no drip if done in such a way. So, but wait, with just together tonight, we have heard the stories of angels, and I know that if I had a moment, a few minutes with each of you, I would hear many, many more stories and keep those because we may continue this next year. So if one comes up during this service, tell me soon and I'll keep it on file. And I believe these stories of angels, they are those parts of our interconnected life. They are this connection we have with other humans that makes us feel fully human. And it is my hope that the stories that we have heard and the stories that you are remembering cause you to consider how you could be an angel for another. And also, if you look back and you find an angel, try to write to them and tell them what it meant. And you may be surprised, as Bobby was, that they have no memory of it at all. So tonight, we will light our candles and then we're going to sing, but this always makes singing more difficult. Should we sing before we light our candles? Should we change the tradition? Because then I see everybody balancing their hymn books with the candle. Okay, we can sing Silent Night. We won't sing it in German then. We'll just sing Silent Night. So could everybody please rise in body or spirit? And this light around us. Let us remember this feeling of connection with one another. And let us remember all of these stories we are remembering and that have been brought to this place. This is the work of Christmas. And these are the words of Howard Thurman. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and queens are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among others, to make music in the heart. Amen, and may it be so. Amen. And now we will extinguish our chalice, and I guess we'll just extinguish them all at the same time. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now I charge all of you to do the work of Christmas. Go in peace. And if you go in peace and come back in the morning, there will be coffee and cinnamon rolls and Barb Nye's pies. So I hope to see many of you in the morning. Go in peace and thank you.